morning. But over to Monica for this brilliant workshop session. Thanks, Monica.
Hello everyone, and hello to anyone who's watching online. My name is Monica, as you just heard. Thank you so much for coming today. Before I begin, let me just check, does everyone have a worksheet and something to write with? Yeah, it should be the little clipboard. Yeah, wave if not, and we'll sort that out for you. Great. Well, thank you so much for being here. I will tell you a little bit about myself, a little bit about the workshop, and then we will get started. So I am a poet and a writer and a workshop facilitator, and this workshop was born out of my time working for the Women's Equality Party, which, if you're familiar, is the UK's only feminist political party, and it was a wonderful time, and it gave me a lot of inspiration, and this workshop kind of came out of that. I am currently writing 2 books, so I'm a poet first and foremost. My debut collection called Teeth in the Back of My Neck, which is I think somewhere for sale around here, came out in 2021, and it came out because I was the winner of something called the Murky Books New Writers Prize, which is all about platforming lesser heard stories and voices, and so it was an immense privilege to win it and be able to publish my poetry. And from there, I'm currently writing a short story collection and a novel coming out ages away in 2025 and 2026. But if any of you were here last night, I read a bit from the short story collection, and I was told it was very good but very scary. So if that's your thing, you might enjoy it. So feminist invoicing is it's a creative workshop first and foremost, and there is no right or wrong way to go about this. It is designed to be accommodating to your experiences and the way that you interpret what we're all about. So the workshop asks you to question and interrogate power dynamics and structures around us, whether that is patriarchy, whether that is capitalism, whether that is kind of a combination of all of those things. And we have people who bring to the table stories of ableism, of racism, of misogyny, of ageism, of sexism. The list goes on, and often those 2 things or 3 things or 4 things will overlap and combine. And so this is a space where we, first and foremost, we respect everyone's experiences and that they're bringing today, and that we, I guess, honor what they're here to say and what they have experienced. And so what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to read you a poem to kind of get us in the mood, and then I will take you through a couple of writing exercises. These are free writing exercises. They're really fast-paced. They're designed to not make you think. So often when we start to try and write, especially when we're in a setting like this where we think, I might be asked to read it or somebody might want to see it, we start to edit. We self-edit. We start to look at and be quite critical of ourselves. And although, of course, that can be very helpful, I want those free writing exercises to be non-edited, all right? So just make sure that you are writing instinctively. Try not to self-police. I guess that was a bit scary. That's okay. No one has to do anything they don't want to do, and I won't force anyone to share anything as well. So you can be really vulnerable and open and know that it's just for you. And the other thing that I want to focus on today is, because we're talking about women in the wild, that's the kind of theme of the festival. Today has a kind of special twist. So the poetry that I'll be reading is different from the poetry that I would normally read here, and I've chosen these because they touch on examples of the wild woman. And when you're writing today, I would really encourage you to think about that. So the wild woman might mean different things to different people. It might literally mean women in nature and how they interact with nature, but for a lot of people, it also might mean a transgressive woman, a woman who is committing taboos and maybe is being punished for those things or not being punished for those things, which is even more fun. And it might mean, these tropes that we see a lot in literature, whether that's the kind of the evil stepmother or the kind of old crone or the witch or the young, naive, innocent maiden. All of these things obviously reflect the way that we think about and treat women in our world and in literature. And all of them are very interesting to unpack and to explore and to kind of play around with. So I also do encourage you, when you're writing today, to think about a wild woman. What does that mean to you? And how would you tease that out into your writing if you feel so inclined? Again, there's no wrong way to do this. So normally what I do is I read out invoices that other people have submitted, and I will share a few examples of those as we go, just for some helpful context. But I won't be doing that today, because usually I check in with those people beforehand and make sure that they're okay with me reading their work out. And I haven't done that today because of the theme. But normally people invoice for memories with a father who perhaps was not as supportive as this person would have liked for whatever reason. They invoice for moments of grief that they feel like they can never get back. They can invoice for items of clothing or dishes of food that they've denied themselves. Many people who come invoice for moments where they have experienced sexual violence or assault, and so sometimes that can get really heavy and intense. And so if anything like that comes up today and you want to talk afterwards, I make myself available, and there are lots of resources I can direct you to if you need. Some people go for very, very light-hearted things like a scarf or like some hilarious memory, or something in the workplace. So it doesn't need to be heavy if you don't want it to be. It's kind of how you make it. And actually, one person told me very recently, and I love this story, that I did feminist invoicing at another festival over the summer, and somebody came along with their 83-year-old father, and she was expecting him to kind of just, in her own words, to go fall asleep in the corner, but he didn't. He got very, very engaged with it, and she was really shocked by the fact that he actually wrote something, and he hasn't shared it with anyone. It's his, and that's completely fine. And since then, he has started to talk about his experiences of the world as a man, and perhaps his role in some of the power structures that we all experience, to his friends who are obviously his age, and she mentioned that was a really astounding experience for her. And moments like that, they make my day, because the point of this workshop is to encourage those conversations, or even just to help you all kind of get in touch with your creative expression and your creative space through a very political lens, because that's who I am, that's my work. So enough about me. I'll start reading some poetry for you. So this poem, I chose this one today because I want us to think about, if this speaks to you, I want you to think about a woman who transgresses and who does something bad, or that society would typically deem bad, whether that's being a really bad mother, or whether that's doing something to somebody else that typically women aren't expected to do, because obviously we are socialized into being very nice and caring and polite and conscientious, and all of that is wonderful, but sometimes the adverse effects of that are that we put everybody else's needs before our own. So this poem is there's a kernel of truth to it, and I would encourage you to think about a time where perhaps you had the opportunity to transgress, and whether you took it or not, and how that made you feel. So this is called Weaponized Incompetence. At 19, she proudly packs his bags with him. No, for him, helps him move. And he sits on the bed and watches her. She glows. How radiant, how useful, how lucky he is to have a girl who loves him so earnestly she temporarily forgets he is a grown man. At 22, she teaches him how to iron his shirts. No, irons his shirts for him, crisp, starched, sexy. She shows him how to get the crease out of the sleeves, just like her mum taught her. But he always forgets exactly how she does it. So sweetly naive, and can't quite grasp the iron in his big hands, and the steam, it's so hot and it hurts. At 27, she keeps asking him to help her around the house. No. She gets him to clean the kitchen that one time, which then stretches into forever. Remember the time I cleaned, he'll say. He'll be wounded, or tired, or busy, or the football's on. And besides, there are just too many products. Ugh. Too many steps, too many sponges and cloths, and it's all too complicated. And she starts to feel claws digging, a crater forming somewhere in her chest. At 31, she wants to rip his eyes out. No. She gets him a cooking course for his birthday. You always said you wanted to learn, she says, and she leans into his disappointment, like pressing a bruise, like squeezing a peach, like packing a suitcase unnecessarily. And he says he'll go, but you know, the rush of life, mortgage, babies, MOT, proposal, holidays. He forgets to book it and he pretends it's all so sad, so sad, so sad. And what was once a glow is now a forest fire. Destruction commence. At 35, she says, I'm leaving you. No. She cooks a roast, gently, like love, homemade gravy on the chipped dinner plate while dishes pile in the sink. And she sits down at the table and slowly eats the whole thing. He, tied up, gagged mouth, sits on the end of the bed and watches her, and she glows. How radiant, how useful, how lucky he was to have had a girl who loved him so earnestly she temporarily forgot he was a grown man. Okay, well, so that poem has actually been developed into a short story, and in that short story, this character ends up tying him up and setting the house on fire, and later a body is pulled out of the rubble and it's just unrecognizable and no one knows what's happened and no one kind of notices that this body is tied up, and the woman gets away with it. And I think that's quite fun to write about. I mean, not the violent bit, but the fact that sometimes women transgress and get away with it, because often in literature when women do things that they're not supposed to do, when they push the boundaries, they're punished, and often their punishment is something really horrible like death, or some kind of stripping of their power. So I really wanted to lean into this idea that sometimes powerful people, powerful women can do these awful things and get away with it, and explore that feeling a little bit. So with that in mind, I would like to invite you to do the very first writing exercise. So if you look down at your worksheet, you will see there's exercise 1, kind of free writing exercise 1. So I would like you to think about a time where you were wild, and you can interpret that however you choose. Think about a time perhaps where you pushed a boundary, or you didn't push a boundary and you wished you had pushed a boundary, or you were out in nature and you kind of felt connected to a deeper part of yourself, or you were doing something or saying something or in a creative space where you suddenly felt very powerful. And I just want you to write about it. And whatever came to mind when I said that, go with that. Don't censor yourself, just go. And I'll give you about a minute and a half. So if you just finish your sentence, there'll be more writing time later, I promise. And I wondered if anybody might like to share. There's absolutely no pressure to do so, but if you did, I would love to hear it. Yes? What's your name, sorry?
Joanne.
Joanne.
I will, because I can't believe what I've just wrote. I wanted to make toast, not allowed. Leave the grill, quiet, unheard of its flame. So I made the toast, unaware of the cloth. It burnt a great fire, I couldn't tell. I took a spoon and ran to the meadow and buried that burnt cloth so no one would know. But a few years back, I dug it up. I am allowed to toast myself. Here are my frayed ends.
Wow, thank you. That's fantastic. Gave me goosebumps. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing. Anyone else? What was your name, sorry?
My name's Kirsten.
Kirsten.
And mine's Riding with the Boys. This is from a very long time ago. Flashy motorbike, American spec pop-up headlight, off for a ride out in Derbyshire, pulling back the throttle, leaning into the bends, glancing at the peaks and drops, but in front, powerful, not passive, proven.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much. That's really, really brilliant. Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah. What's your name, sorry? Donna.
Break glass. Break the glass. If you break the glass, the train will stop. The commute will be over. People will thank you. They don't want to be here either. Staring at phones, staring at crosswords, staring out the window, staring at me. Break the glass.
Yes, break the glass. That's fantastic. Thank you. So we've got some kind of odes to freedom, or to, you know, the possibilities of an open road. We've got break the glass, which was a very powerful image coming through there. We've got these ideas of setting yourself on fire, or leaning into perhaps transgression or mistakes, and kind of turning them into our own, or setting yourself on fire, which is really fantastic. And you know, please hold on to those as we move on to the second writing exercise, which is quite similar to the first, but I would like you to imagine yourself as a wild woman, whatever that might mean to you. So are you a harpy? Are you a witch? Are you a druid? Or are you a human who's just got quite a strong connection to nature? It can be whatever you want, and I will give you 3 minutes for this one. if there's anybody who would like to share, please do. Please feel free. Yeah, what's your name? Vicky.
I'm in Mexico. I've made it to the Copper Canyons to run like there's no tomorrow, in search of hundreds of monarch butterflies taken to the wind without a care in the world, following their wings beat wherever it might take them next. And a kind of sense of navigating a human could only dream about. No maps needed, no GPS, just a deep instinctive rhythm.
It's beautiful.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's really, really wonderful. And thank you for sharing. Have you been there to Mexico? No. Oh, sounds like you need to do it. Well, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Is there anyone else? Oh, yes. Hi, what's your name?
My name is Siri.
Siri.
Yeah, I'm from Norway.
Oh, hi, nice to meet you.
I want to share this text. I am the woman that bewitches you, the invisible spirit that walks into your heart, penetrates your soul, making your sorrows even deeper and your joys flourishing as well. I am the witch, black or white, I don't know, maybe both. But I stay inside your soul forever.
Oh, wow. It's a very sinister ending there. Thank you. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Yes, so what's your name? Joe.
Lying in the overgrown grass, face buried into the soil, arms stretched like roots, knuckles arched, bent out of shape, thighs heavy, flattening the stalks so they touch tips to roots, sinking further as my breath shallows, left for dead, but I rise.
Oh, very good. Thank you. Also very sinister. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Yeah. Amanda.
Yeah. The waves sing to me and dampen my depression. The trees whisper to the leaves and settle my anxious soul. I can be a mermaid or a fairy of the woodland.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. I love that. We've got really different themes coming out. We've got literally connecting to nature. We've got, being this quite perhaps dangerous, powerful creature. We've got this kind of yearning for adventure and connecting to something bigger than us. That's really, really fantastic. Is there anybody else who feels moved? Yeah, hi, what's your name? Katie.
Bones, 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 jewels sifted from the bellies of the wild things, grey upon white, hollow twinkling in the moonlit breeze. I breathe in and out again, drawing in the night's magic. The wind seems to whistle music against the ink-black sky. I am watching, waiting, ready.
Oh, thank you. My gosh, watching, waiting, ready. Scary. Yeah, I'd like to know the end of that. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for people who have shared. I really, really appreciate it. So what I will do now is I will read out one more poem, and then I will give you a little bit longer. And if you kind of flip to the next page of the worksheet, you'll see there is an invoice there. So I'll just say a little bit about that. Sometimes the kind of value part of this invoice, if anyone's listening, and this isn't relevant, sorry, but there's a part there which says kind of the value. So you've got item, description, value. You don't have to fill in that part if you don't want to. So there are some people who find it really easy to put a value on their invoice. Again, for some people it's clothes, for some people it's dishes of food, for some people it is literal money. So someone once invoiced for a single bouquet of flowers, $4.99 for a bouquet of roses from M&S, because she was exhausted of attending vigils of dead women and buying them flowers. Sometimes people invoice for huge, like untold amounts of money. So there was somebody who invoiced the beauty industry and tried to invoice for the inverse of what that industry is worth, which is billions and billions. And sometimes people choose not to go for monetary value. Sometimes people are going for memories or clothes or, like I said, items of food. And some people ignore that box altogether, and that's completely fine. Some people don't feel like there is a value that they can put into words, and that's also completely acceptable. And some people go, do I have to use the invoice template? And the answer is no, you don't have to use the invoice template. It is there as a prompt and as a guide. And if you look at it and you go, no, there's all these funny lines everywhere and I don't want to use that, that's fine. It's completely up to you. And the other thing that I would say is that, so feminist invoicing exists online, on Instagram, literally just feminist invoicing. And often it's a huge honor if anybody afterwards decides that they would like their invoice to be published. A lot of people find it quite cathartic to kind of see it go out into the world and let it go. So if you do, after this, or if you take it away and work, sit with it or write it, and you want to get back in touch, please do. It would be a huge honor to publish your invoices, should you feel comfortable. And sometimes people publish them anonymously. Sometimes they put their names to them. And if you don't want to, that's also completely fine. So what I will read now, this one is quite different. And I chose this one specifically today because, I found out something maybe about a year ago, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. So does anyone, this is a silly question, but does anyone know who Picasso is? Raise your hand if you know who Picasso is. Okay, that's pretty much, this is pretty much everyone, right? Raise your hand if you know the names of the 7 women in his life who inspired his work or even directly contributed to his work. Yeah, I didn't either. Yeah? Sorry? Olga, yeah, there's Olga. Anyone else? Any other names? Dora, yeah, there's Dora Maar, yeah, there's Francois Gillot.
Leonora. Yeah. Leonora Carrington.
Yeah.
I think she might have just been friends with him.
She was just in the same
I mean, yeah, she might have been. Who knows? He was not really known for giving credit to any of the other inspirations in his life, but so there are they're called his 7 muses, and I think that's a contested word there, but throughout the life that Picasso lived, he had relationships with several women, and many of those women would later talk about the abuse that they suffered at his hands, and the awful impact that he had on their careers. He actively stifled their artistic, creative careers. There were some women who were at the start of incredibly promising photography or painting or artistic careers themselves when he met them, and he was very, very threatened by that very quickly. And for many of them, would actively stop them from working, or after those relationships ended, would use his very, very considerable power and influence to prevent them from getting exhibitions or from having their books published. So he was the kind of person who actively repressed the power of women. And not a lot of us really know that, because we admire his work. His work is he's one of the most influential artists in the world. He left behind this incredible trail of destruction. And some of the women who actively worked on his, so one of them, for example, Dora Maar, literally painted parts of Guernica, which is one of the most famous paintings in the world, and others taught him ceramics, or they influenced his work with their photography or his writing. So these women, their fingerprints are all over his work, and we don't know them very well. I'm currently writing a sort of short series on each of them and publishing them on my Substack, but that's something separate. I wrote this poem called Picasso, which questions this idea that art is born from suffering, and then that's kind of just the way that it goes, and we can accept that. And even if that's at this huge cost, can we accept that, and should we accept that? And even I feel like this idea of can you separate the art from the artist is kind of irrelevant. I don't think that's really the point of the discussion that we should be having. So I wrote this poem, and I wrote it because even though this focuses on Picasso and not these women, I do later have these incredible tributes to them. And I would encourage you all to go and read about them, go and find out more about them, because they are amazing. And one of them, the very last surviving woman, Francois Gillot, died just a few months ago at the age of, I think she was 90 something. She was or maybe even over 100, and she was absolutely fantastic and a very, very powerful woman. But all of these women, I think, embody the kind of wild woman in that a lot of them were these incredibly intuitive, creative, talented individuals who were very secure in who they were and who knew their power, and many of them went on to flourish before, during, and after Picasso's relationships with them. But I keep coming back to the fact that we still don't know their names very well. And even though I don't name them in this poem, I do name them in other bits of work that I do. So if you're interested, like, come chat to me later, I can tell you where to find them. So this is just called Picasso. Women are machines for suffering, he said, as he unfolded them geometrically and stretched their faces onto canvas, immortalizing pain so it calcified and hardened as the decades went past. A scab unpicked, but still hiding many small wounds. And we talk about separating the art from the artist like it's logic, like you can peel the skin off of it and discard it like an orange. And we talk about educating and raising awareness so people can look at beautiful and or horrifying things and place distance between themselves and it. And we talk about pushing boundaries as if it were an exercise in intellect and avant-garde curiosity, and not the work of a man who once put out a cigarette on a woman's cheek and who brutalized a 17-year-old at the age of 45. Allegedly, my apologies, allegedly. And so, to make up for indulging a man who tortures himself and others with his genius, the brochures will make vague references to a tumultuous home life, like misogyny is just a rough sea to be sailed through. Unfortunate, of course, but ultimately temporary. What's a teenager, after all, but low-hanging fruit waiting to be plucked and split open? And I love an excuse for violent men who weaponize creativity and the way they must crush a woman or seven and smear their mistreatment into groundbreaking work, win awards, win accolades, win tributes. We all know the name of the man who used women to change the world, but I still have to Google the names of the muses who made him famous. Whose work, whose power, whose fame? What kind of world coronates a man who left behind 2 suicides and a nervous breakdown? What kind of world concludes that there must be ways to redeem art made from knifing, asterisk after asterisk, until you could fill a whole room with caveats? What kind of world balls up the truth in cotton wool and turpentine until it's small, too small for even the tiny fine print in the exhibitions? Picasso, the legend. Picasso, love, fame, tragedy, and genius. Picasso of Guernica, the truth sayer, the corrector of injustice. Picasso, the artist who bled women onto tarpaulin and promised to burn them. Picasso, the abuser who warned us, after all, when he said so tenderly, every act of creation begins with an act of destruction. Thank you. So when you're writing your invoices, hopefully that's a little bit of a fire under you there. So we've talked about wild women, we've envisioned wild women, we've talked about transgression, we've talked about taboo, and we've also talked about the kind of power dynamics that are at play by men who stomp all over women to get what they want. And so I would encourage you now, as I move you into writing your invoices, to think about all of those things and think about, is there someone or something that you want to direct this invoice to? Is there someone or something that you wish to reclaim something from? Is there something you feel like you're owed that you want to take back? Or do you want to go down a route of you are invoicing for this incredible, powerful, wild woman that you have created and that you want to kind of follow that journey and see where she goes? There is, like I said, no wrong way to do this. So you can either go down quite, anger-filled, vindictive route, or you can go down a more empowering, women-led route. There's no right or wrong way, and I enjoy both, and I think both are very, very important. Or you can completely ignore what I've just said and do something completely different. That is also perfectly fine. But before we begin, I just want to encourage you all to just loosen your shoulders a little bit, take a really deep breath, and maybe one more.
Can I just ask you, so by invoicing, are you charging somebody?
You can be. It's really open-ended. So the point of it is to ask you to explore power dynamics. So if there is a dynamic that you're thinking of in particular, you can direct it to that person who you feel like owes you something and you want to reclaim something from, or you can write it from the perspective of the person who is powerful, and who, so when I say that, I don't mean the person who's doing an injustice, I mean a wild woman, somebody who's really powerful, who knows her own strength, or their own strength. So you can really interpret it how you want. And I think the reason why I gave you those two examples just then is because people tend to go one of two ways. They either tend to, they've got someone or something very, very clear in their minds and they just go for it, or they've got a story that they want to tell, and often they're talking about themselves there or somebody very dear to them, and they want to tell it from a very empowering perspective, or from that person's perspective rather than towards someone. So you can do that, or you can kind of go, actually, I've got an idea in mind and I'm going to ignore everything. So that's, you know, it's really open-ended. And if you've got any questions as well, just put your hand up, I'll come over and chat to you. But I'm going to give you, what's the time now? I'm going to give you 15 minutes. So this is a much longer exercise. Take your time with it, and maybe kind of see what comes out of it. If you'd, thank you. Everyone just looked up as I said that. Yeah, sorry to interrupt anyone who's still writing. It's always tricky to know how exactly to time these, but I do hope that was helpful or illuminating or fun at the very least. We do have time if anybody feels like sharing, but these are obviously very personal, so please don't feel like you have to. And I will just hang around for a little bit afterwards anyway if you wanted to come and chat. But is there anybody who feels... Oh, already, fantastic, thank you.
So this is for 3 women. For all the tears caused by judgment and meanness to my 2 daughters and me, you should shave your legs, your face is too flat, your feet are too big, your face is too spotty. You should wear pink, you are not pretty. And I'd like 944 boxes of tissues, 1 for every month of our lives.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, thank you so much. That was really beautiful and powerful. Thank you. And I like what you've done there with the months and the tissues.
Took a bit of maths, but
yeah, I was going to say, well done for the maths as well. An unexpected obstacle there, but well done.
I just wanted to say that you're not pretty was actually a remark from a grandmother to one of my daughters, thinking it was something. So, yeah, it was interesting to explore it like that. So thanks.
Yeah, I thought, I mean, obviously, I don't know you or how you write, but I thought that line, it didn't feel like something you had made up. It felt like a direct, or the words pretty felt like a direct lift off something in real life. But yeah, I mean, yesterday we were talking about how something that I like to explore in my writing a lot is how the body is this lightning rod for so many expectations and so much policing from kind of the world around us. But it's just heartbreaking when it's done to like little girls who are just like coming into the world and who are still like new and open and excited and love themselves. So that's got me right here. Thank you for sharing that. Is there anyone else who... Oh, great, okay. So we'll go to you, and then you, and then you.
Here's an invoice for my face. Don't do that, you look like your father. Whatever my face just did. It reminded her of the someone I would never meet, the someone I would not see a photo of. Whatever my face just did, it made her mad. I stare into my pink mirror, looking for a dad. See only a little girl, pretty dress, red ribbons. I train my face to not do anything, to be blank, so as not to upset her. Here is the invoice for my blank face, mother. You can decide on the value.
Oh, wow. Thank you. My goodness. Weirdly, like a little bit of an overlap there.
I've got pretty in mind.
Yeah.
It's about a child, so yeah.
I mean, God, crushing, but very, very powerful. Thank you so much, for sharing. Yeah. Wait, what's your name? Sorry. Sue.
So mine's kind of it's a sort of projection to the future.
Okay.
About my granddaughter. So it's an invoice that will never happen, hopefully, because these debts won't be accrued. See what I mean?
Ooh, I like it. Okay.
She will not waste her bloom and anarchic joy on worrying if her nose is the right shape. She will not waste hours. She could be laughing or staring at the moon on removing her body hair. She will not waste precious minutes of delicious deranged dreaming on worrying if it's going off her. She will pin her crazy unwashed hair back with a pencil, like her mother did, and stare rapt at the daub of crimson lake or the test tube. She will walk through the night of the city streets, or the moonless paths alone and free, owed and owing nothing.
Wow, thank you. You know what, I always say it is not a feminist invoicing workshop if someone doesn't tear up. And quite often that person is me. So thank you, that was incredibly powerful. I think you conveyed so strongly that, it's that feeling of like, it needs to be better, like this can't go on. There has to be something better out there. So thank you so much. That was so powerful. I'm honoured. What's your name? Sorry, Rose.
Mine's about I wrote a poem about a first draft about being a feminist mother of boys. So I'm inspired by the idea of invoicing. It's called Simultaneous Equations. My life is full of men. I love my boys. I love their small, bright faces as they look at me, my mother. I am me. They see me naked in the shower, vulnerable as I wipe away a tear after a crap day. They are formed of my parenting. They will never be my enemy. Am I a feminist? Yes. I am strong. I am me, not a fraction of myself, but whole. I love myself. I have no debt to pay, no invoice, though we are all sums, all of us. Added, negated, multiplied and stretched in oh so many ways. I love my boys. I love my boys. I will not teach the world to differentiate, to pit X against Y. We are simultaneous equations. X, 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 Y, X, 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 Y. Why? I want to love my boys. I shape and love my boys each day. We are better together. I push them through my flesh. Both stuck fast. Both turned, were cajoled, coaxed. Perhaps they know that we're emerging into a cold, calculating world of them and us. I love my boys because I love myself.
Oh. Wow. That was so beautiful. I think it's not often that we, in spaces like this, it's not often that we get almost like an ode to boys, to little boys, and that was and to being a mother of little boys. So that was so beautiful. Thank you for that. How lovely. I mean, your boys sound amazing, and you sound amazing. But boys are amazing. We do love boys and men here as well. We do. We really do. Thank you so much. Does anyone else want to share? Yeah. Oh, hi, Sassy. Yeah. Yay.
It's just a short one. 2, the men in my life. 3, they said, your posture makes you unattractive. But they didn't stop there. Let's make a point. 1, they said, you look ill without mascara. 4, they said, you're desperate for attention. 1, they said, that dress makes you look big. 5, they said, your thighs don't fit in that slide. 9, they said, calm down. 2, they said, you're not good enough. I could go on for more memories and more decimal places because I'm irrational. Subtotal, it's pie and I'll eat the damn lot. Total Jew, their silence.
Yeah! I love that, Sassy. If you, I'm going to shamelessly say that if you want to submit that again to Feminist Invoicing, I'll take it. That was really good. Thank you so much. I love it. We can just swing from sort of grief to rage to joy to lots of complicated feelings. It's just, this is always my favourite bit of the workshop. Is anyone else who would like to share? Yeah, what's your name again, sorry?
Katie.
Katie.
It's about a difficult relationship, so just a bit of a trigger warning. To the one I thought loved me. For the confidence you stole from underneath my bed, for the dripping tap of compliments that became laced with heavy lead, for the pages you tore so cruelly from my life, for my enthusiasm waning in the fading evening light, for the bloody scarred remains, a heart left open, raw, for the creeping dread I feel when I hear a slamming door, for my dying withered stems starved of golden rays, for the ways the clock ticks backward, tears clouding sunny days, for the trigger unexpectedly pulled by sound or taste or smell, for the wailing woman I've become at the bottom of the well, for the joyful moments tinged with regret, silver linings elusive, for the flickering gaslight still burning with the echoes of all your abuses, for all you pilfered, stole, took back, ripped out, ripped off, tore up, tore down, shredded and destroyed, discarding me into this endless whirling void.
Wow. My goodness, thank you. That was very powerful. I love the image of the kind of woman wailing in the well, but also the kind of confidence being stolen from under the bed. That's such an evocative image. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, please do submit to Feminist Invoicing if you feel so inclined. Yes.
But I must say, I love my mother. But we had a complicated relationship. Now she's old. And I'm working in a school, but as an art teacher for children, not as a school teacher. Okay. Mother, a kind of transaction. Mother, I can't claim anything from you now, as our friendship is renewed and you're old and forgetful. All your injustice in younger days, all is gone now. The Mrs. Reed inside you has ceased. Did it arise? Did it arise from the wild woman, the tied-up harpy inside your soul? You never understood, perhaps, why my horror with school jobs and school situations never ceased. And why did you claim for 30 years that I should be a teacher, a school teacher just like you, when you knew the terrors of my younger school days? I don't understand, perhaps I never understand. Perhaps it was your own wish to shape me as yourself, like unhappy twins, inseparable to their death. No, I'll never understand, Mummy, but I forgive you. You're old now, you forget, but your kind heart has taken the place of the harpy, the Mrs. Reed of old times. I myself want to be my old wild woman, protesting against injustice and those old ties that breaks us down and diminishes our souls. I hope you'll be with me in that wish. Mother, I forgive you, and now at last I can express my care and my love for you. Yeah, but I hope you got it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And sometimes when I'm trying to read back what I've just written in my own handwriting, I'm like, I don't know what I've just said.
Yeah,
it could be anything.
Chaotic.
Yeah, and also just like a special thank you as well, because you're writing in, I presume, a second language, which is like doubly impressive. As the daughter of two people whose English is not their first language, I am in awe and very grateful that you've done that. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I think we have time for one more, and we would then maybe. Yeah, of course. What's your name?
Rachel.
Rachel.
Terrible handwriting. I'm trying to copy. Okay. You tried to tie me down, choke me, with the same rope intended to end it all. I talked you down, remember, the day I said goodbye to my childhood, the wild little carefree feral child you once knew, and I became the parent. This rope has followed me around for too long. It became a noose I struggled to shake, restrained physically, emotionally, by every man that tried to part my legs. That rope, sometimes used for play, too many times used with force. But no, you can't hold down a wild thing for too long. Perfectly unagreeable. I will no longer lie down in a storm. Sorry, I would no longer offer you shelter in a storm.
Wow. That was so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
It's about my dad tried to take his own life, and I stopped him when I was a child. So.
Oh my gosh.
And then I think it just made a lot of relationships quite difficult with men afterwards, and I was raped when I was a little bit older, so it was quite I think I just didn't know how to handle.
How could you possibly? You were a child, how could you possibly know how to handle that?
Yes.
I mean, thank you for sharing that, is all I can say. And if you want to chat afterwards, I'm here. Yeah. Like I said, it's not a feminist invoicing session if someone's crying. And we do have tissues somewhere, as I discovered earlier. But honestly, thank you so much for sharing that.
And your writing's really good.
Yeah, it really, really is. Yeah, that was brilliant.
It's written it's doctor's handwriting though.
Well then, doubly impressive that you can read that.
I found myself as I was writing, I was getting angrier and angrier.
Yeah, that does tend to happen. I should have warned you at the beginning. You might leave quite angry. Well, I think there's probably a good moment to end things here, but I just wanted to say a massive thank you, and to everyone also online. Thank you so much for coming here and for immersing yourselves in feminist invoicing, and for your rage and your sorrow and your anger and your grief and your love and your care. It's a real honour for me to run these. So feminist invoicing wouldn't happen without all of you. So thank you so much. And I'll wait here for a little bit if anybody wants to come and have a conversation, and we can always, if you want to chat and hang around, please do. All right, well, thank you. And we'll end there. I did take a picture on my phone as well, so if anyone doesn't want to be photographed, come and I'll delete it. Oh, of course. Yeah, thank you so much.
I read your poem 23.